I'm Cynthia Cranz. I'm mostly known for Chi-Chi. I've also do Mrs. Briefs and Baby Broly in the series. I got to angry cry. And then I tried to sell prints when the Broly movie came out. Maybe they'll care. Anyway, I've been signing a lot of stuff for Photon on Yu Yu Hakusho, which people...
Me too.
It got released.
It hit Netflix. I've never had more. My first sale at this con, the first person that came to see me was all 12 cards from Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yes.
It's like, this show came back.
I think Yu Yu Hakusho needs its own con. That's how right. Yes, it does. I've sold a lot of prints just off the Facebook fan page. They love it. They love the show.
I love it.
But anyway, we're not here for that show. We'll let you guys introduce your characters.
Please.
I'm Curlee. My name is Laurie Steele. And Dragon Ball. And I was Alvita on One Piece and Ruka and Yu Yu Hakusho. And I've done quite a few other ones, 45 different ones, and done different voices, but people remember me most as Curlee. That's it.
200 credits on any of that. 16!
Somebody pointed something out I did today, and they said, "You remember the show? Remember you were on it?" No. Nope.
But there's a reason for that. We get called in and we're not told what show or character we are, and then we leave.
Yeah. Or they do this too, where they say, "Okay, today you have 10 lines here," and then go down over here and you've got 15 lines.
And we're not stupid. They just don't give us the information, so we're sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works different. I'm Jeremy Inman. I started my entire voiceover career, which I didn't even know I was going to have one, with Dragon Ball Z and Android 16. And since that was in March of 2000, and now my recent project is Obi and Fire Force. I've been in Fairy Tail through Yu Yu Hakusho as Suzuka, the smack-talking clown.
Not stereotypical at all.
The beautiful. Anyway, that's Yu Yu Hakusho. People care about that again. And I'm the real job. I'm a full-time director with Funimation. I do that every day.
And he's quite good at it.
No, stop.
Have they moved?
Not yet.
When did they move?
We don't know.
They're in the process. Every time I go in, every couple of months, more stuff is missing from the old studio, and it's very creepy. So I don't know what they're chatting about. Does anyone have any questions?
Point of contention.
First question.
How do you get into that? They come to you and you like, hey, I want to direct you.
I'm gonna give you the long form answer because it's the only answer available. There's no quick. I'll give you my personal experience. I started as a voice actor back when nobody knew what any of this was. So basically built this industry almost from the ground up with Dragon Ball Z because it got so popular. So everybody working on it didn't really have that big of a grasp on what Chris Sabat did, but it was all on the job training basically. As you went, and now it's just turned into this thing. There's no school you can go to learn voice acting in particular, or voiceover directing especially. Every industry that uses voiceovers almost seems like it has a different model. Yeah, it's like video games versus what we do versus, and even the way what we do, prelay, yeah, and then even the way Funimation, the way I directed Funimation, is probably different than the way Houston does with their visits in time, or Bank Zoom in LA. I know it's different in LA with Bank Zoom. So it's really just kind of where you're working. It all involves some core principles as far as communicating from a director standpoint, as far as communicating with the actor and knowing what you want to get out of them. But the mechanics around it are all different. That sounds kind of like a lazy way to answer your question, but it also just kind of illustrates, I don't know. I can tell you how I did it at Funimation, but
how did you get it? Like how did you get selected? Did you offer? They say, hey, you should direct.
I was asked.
There we go. I was never
If
asked.
you really want me to sound like a jerk.
But I wouldn't be good at it. I'm better at taking direction than coming up with the ideas. And I have a question. How much information did they give you on a project before you start directing? Is it like us as actors showing up knowing nothing? What?
You didn't raise your hand. Yeah. No, COVID has been good to us in that sense because a lot of times we're in studio and we get a project a week if we're lucky to learn the entire. I love it when this is what happened with Golden Conway. They said you're going to get this really cool show. They didn't even say that. I'm dramatizing for effect. But oh, by the way, they speak 3 different languages in it. Oh, that sounds hard. What language is it? Well, it's a dead language of the indigenous people of northern Japan in the 19th century. It's called Ainu. But you should be fine. I'm like, what? Wait, what? It's like, it's a real language of a real indigenous people, and that's not something we can...
You can just wing it.
Yeah, half-ass our way through like we do with made-up demon talk or whatever. It's like, I think it sounds like... Great. So... Monica Rial, yeah, is amazing. If y'all ever want to, Monica Rial is amazing just for the fact that me and her got together that night when we found out that we were, because she's one of the leads, she's a Sherpa in Golden Conway. Me and her did as much internet foot traffic research, keyboard warrioring as we could, and we found out 3 things. There's the only record of the Ainu language is this really badly organized library in England. And the only sound of it is a woman talking an old Ainu woman talking in Japan, and that there is no written language of Ainu. It was all communicated orally. It's an oral tradition culture. So between those 3 things, the University of Oxford had a spreadsheet as far as this is what it is in Ainu, this is what it is in Japan, and this is what it is in English, and then the meanings for each.
And someone decided to throw that in a show just for fun.
Yeah, so I kind of threw a diva fit and said we're not doing anything until we have somebody writing this out. So I got a language consult who was Afia Yu. She'd kill me. I don't know why, but she's like, don't use my name. But I get really good at it. But like... So Afia Yu was basically our language consult for Ainu, and this girl taught herself Ainu in like a matter of a month.
Wow.
I know, and so it's legit. It's probably the hardest I've ever worked on a show and the most slept on show out there. So anybody that comes to my table, you're going to hear me talking about Golden Conway, not just because it's a good show, but the legwork that we're going into it to keep it legitimate for the viewing audience and, just ethically. But also, it's just really good. It's an adventure based in turn of the century Japan. It's just really good. That was long. Here.
I have a question.
I like listening.
My arm is up, Jeremy. I have another question.
Oh.
Did Japan not give you references for that language since it was their ancient language? Okay.
Japan didn't. Here's the funny thing. I'm not going to start that fight. I know the whole dubs over subs or subs over dubs or whatever. There's a lot of caveats you should know. But Japan didn't give us any materials as far as the Ainu research because they're speaking it. But the funny thing about the Japanese language is that it's still different than Ainu, and you can hear it when they're because they were thinking the same thing. It's like, well, can't you just hear the Japanese people speaking and then repeat after them? It's like, no, you can't,
they don't.
Because there are pronunciations of the C and H together, or like this. There's things that turn into sh or whatever that don't look the same in Japanese, so it wasn't a matter of just being able to repeat the Japanese. In fact, the end comment of that last comment, we would bring Afia. I even have videos of it because I thought it'd make great special features of me and Afia working with the actors doing Ainu. That was probably the most never saw yet interesting special feature I ever shot.
So y'all should check it out.
Yeah. But everybody speaking Ainu, there's Afia there. The process is you listen to it in the Japanese, and then you go over the line in Ainu with the language consultant, and then the actor has to stand there because the actors come in and they don't know.
Monica's earning her bucks.
Yeah,
Like, wow.
Monica is like
An expert now.
Yeah, when we started the show, there were 70 people in the world that could speak Ainu, and now at season 3, there's 80. Serious, real facts. Yeah, same show, that was season 1. Same show hit me season 3 this year during COVID with Russian, Ainu, and they're going through all of northern Japan. So they go through Hokkaido, and then they go up and even more towards Russia. So there's sessions I'm speaking only Russian all day. The funnest part for the actors is like, it's not just one actor that's speaking Russian. They're at a Russian brawl where I have 80 bit parts and they all have something to say in Russian. And it's like, oh boy. And I knew.
That's a weird version of this.
Yeah, a better version. I've seen it, tell you.
Any other questions?
So when doing super emotional scenes, whether it be like anger, sadness, or anything like that, did you guys have any sort of like tactic that you guys would use to get into that like headspace? Whether it be like listening to like a sad song or like watching fight scenes or stuff like that, in order to like portray the voice you're trying to get.
I'm not that deep.
No.
No, Chi-Chi really didn't have that many emotional scenes. She's just all emotion all the time. So I rely on, they do now play us the Japanese version of the scene, and I can see how intense it is. Like, is it a yell or a yowl or crying or crying? And so I guess I draw a lot on improv, and I'm not much of a method actor, so I just try. I don't really realize whatever my process is. I don't know. I just do it. That's what I'm saying. I'm kind of a shallow actor, I guess.
I would not say that at all. I would say from a director standpoint, it depends on the show and the actor. There's plenty of actors, like Cynthia's selling herself a little short, but there's nothing wrong in that acting approach, especially with what we do. As far as we're seeing the material for the very first time. We don't get the material where we can sit on and draw an emotional story arc of what we want to do with this character a month before we have to perform it. They're literally walking in cold seeing this. Now sometimes, yeah, so that's the standard rule. Now there's also times if the actor knows their character, or like that's the lead, and I hate to just broadly answer this. Well, it depends, but it is true. Like, it depends on the director and the actor and their relationship. It depends on, Eric Vale's here at the con. Like, he's a great actor, but he doesn't invest that much emotionally into his voice work. He's just able to deliver it believably. And I don't think that, I'm not talking crap about Eric. I mean, that's a skill.
It is a skill because it's, like when you do theater, you do have weeks and months to prepare and make your own backstory on each character. And
there's just not enough time to invest that much emotionally into the character, unless it's a lead and it's coming. That has also happened. Real Life, I don't know if any of you guys saw Real Life, but Real Life was one of my first solo directing projects, and it's a slice of life about an older guy who's given a drug and a second chance to go relive his last year at high school.
That sounds cool.
It's really cool. I was 40 years old when I directed it, and I identified with it. I'm like, it just sucked me in just because the dynamic. It's like, who doesn't kind of at least think about that? And there were a lot of, especially towards the end, you guys probably all know Jeannie Tirado as she's in it with Michael Salasad, and both of them are the type of actors, especially if you sit with a character so long, we're really into it. So that's an example of, I don't want to spoil it if you guys ever watch it, but the entire show leads up to this big finale, emotional finale. And then they throw 4 more OVAs on it a year later, and it's even more. So watching them, being able to direct, my job's easy as a director as long as I cast right. You know, if you cast the right people, my job's just looking at my phone, wait to hit record. It's more than that. You get it. So they were both into their characters enough and anticipating these emotional scenes enough where they could come in sort of prime the pump already, and then as a director, what I did, because we don't record together, whoever recorded first, I would let them watch the scene with them. I would let them preview the scene and then let them hear the scene with the other actor in it, or at least act with just the actor in it. And that always, I think for our end and the type of work we do, the best performances you get is when you can let actors at least hear the other actors in it. Because that's their job, you know, it's like, I'm not just acting into a voice.
Listen and respond.
Yes. So, yes and no is the short answer to your question. It all depends on the character and the actor and the director and how that dynamic.
I could never do what you do. I just couldn't. That's hard for me.
I love it. I'd love to watch it play out.
Well, thanks everybody. This has been great.
Okay, this is for all of you, and I'm really curious to hear Laurie's with voices. To practice voices or to come up with new voices, like, do you base yourself on a different voice you've heard, or just try to invent
Sometimes,
new
yeah.
voices,
I mean,
or what is the
it's all
process?
about listening. You know, listen to something and then piece something else together and something else. But, you know, I just keep trying different things. I've always been able to do voices. And strange. You know, a lot of times it's just listening to something else. I was talking to Campbell the other day, and the guy on the phone was like, "Thank you for calling Capital One." And I was talking to some, they were working on people working on my attic. Oh my God, I've got a vampire on the phone. Oh my God. I was like, yes, Liz, look at your account. Oh my God, but I gotta remember this voice. This is good. It's all about, you close your eyes and kind of remember it, and then piece it together later. Yeah. Spooky cookies. Yeah. But yeah, just listening is a good part of it.
I had a specific, I'm sorry, no, the craft, because I have no craft talk. Finish up.
You were talking about emotions. I don't know why, but I can pretty much cry on you. And there's one, I mean, they give you 30 seconds of explanation. Okay, this is what's happening. This woman's on a bus and her child is killed by a sniper. Okay, go.
Yes.
Those are the hardest parts. I'm glad
exactly.
you brought that up.
Thank you.
That is the best
Thank
answer
you.
to your question, because I've had to do that too.
It's improv. It's improv.
And bit parts will, from a director's standpoint, a bit part done bad will ruin your show. So it's like, Laura, that's one of the best points I've heard all weekend, because nobody gets it. They all want to be the next, I'm going to be Eric Bale or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to be a good enough actor to come to be Soldier A and weep on command and sell
Pull it out of your butt.
and then disappear into the show.
Yeah, afterwards there was this silence, and then I heard, okay, that was way too real.
That happens all the time, and because, you know, content creators know it's a story device. You know, you're inserting tragedy and drama into the show, but none of the main characters are involved with it. We just have to communicate. Who's watching How Not to Summon a Demon Lord? No, okay. Whatever. Two of you, whatever. It just happened in one of the last episodes. There's this woman sobbing in the middle of the street, and she's woman A with baby, but she sobs for 3 minutes, and it has to sound believable, and she's crying the whole time as they talk about the tragedy that's befallen the town. So if she's mailing in this crying, going, wah, and the narrators or whoever's like, the town is just desperate for help. It's like, nobody's gonna believe that, you know? And I almost feel bad, because it's like the skill that takes to do that for your credit of woman A. All of you sitting in here saying, I want to be a voice actor, this is the best lesson you can wrap your head around right now. You can be a great actor and very appreciated for your work, but nobody's going to pay you for your autograph for woman A. But you will be respected.
I've done more old lady B's, villager A's, and whatever, and it is hard. And sometimes it's hilarious. Like, sometimes I love that 5 minutes of the character.
I love bit parts, because you can basically do
Bit
whatever
parts
you
are,
want.
it's a good way to practice. To answer your question, only twice did I have something to base my voices on. I a lot of times try to figure out, what I'm hearing from the Japanese version, but like Botan was one that reminded me of a Spielberg film called Always.
I love that
I love that
movie.
film.
I saw it in
Audrey,
the theater with my first girlfriend.
Audrey Hepburn's last film, and she played, I can't think of her name. No, that's not her name, no. Hap. Her name is Hap.
Dead wife.
No,
Right, no?
dude, watch it again.
It's been in high school, I can't revisit
No,
it.
it's really good. It's about the guys that put out forest fires in their airplanes, and Richard Dreyfuss is in it, John Goodman, Holly Hunter. And so Richard Dreyfuss saves John Goodman and the firemen, and he is walking through a burnt out forest, and he sees nothing but dead wood, and then there's this patch of green, and there's this beautiful lady in white. And he's like, yeah, I really killed that one. Either I'm either dead or dreaming. And Audrey Hepburn goes, well, you're not dreaming. And then she puts a cape on him and gives him a haircut, and then tells him that his before he can move to across the river Styx heaven or whatever, has to be the inspiration and mentor for the next pilot. But when I saw Botan, it reminded me of Audrey Hepburn's, which is why I threw a bit of British in there, because she was perky and happy and not like any Grim Reaper I've ever seen. And then when I played Mitch in Case Closed, I was just a huge fan of Butters. I can't do Butters, but that's where I was pulling from when I did Butters. And other than that, I just wing it. Have you had any inspirations, Jeremy?
Gaston, Disney, Beauty and the Beast.
For which character?
Android 16.
Oh, really?
Straight up.
All right.
Because I auditioned right around there. I was watching, I don't know, but it was like, again, I had moved to Texas from California and left California saying, well, I'm not going to try to be an actor, I'm going to do something else. And then got into firefighting. And then this audition popped up for this show, and I was like, well, I make fun of Gaston a lot. I'll just kind of apply that.
But how did you find out about it if you weren't even acting at that point?
Oh, I would just do it. Like,
No.
She's the one.
How did you find out about the
I
audition?
just some guy that did Walla with Brad Jackson.
Okay.
I found out from Josh Martin.
Yeah.
I had a friend place the open call ad. We worked on a
They
Scotch.
put it in the paper back
Yes,
in the
they
day,
did. The Dallas
holding your hand
Observer.
reading paper.
This guy and I worked on a sketch comedy show for cable access that they don't have anymore, and he kept calling me going, you've got to audition, and I was like, I know nothing about cartoons, and on the third call I went and I had to try to match the Canadian female voices. And the funny thing about that is Chi-Chi did not yell, scream, go hysterical, cry, whatever. It was, oh well, boys will be boys. And like, how'd they know I was gonna be able to go, rad? You know, I mean, like, that's the most random part, is nothing that I auditioned for is anything that she ended up being.
Oh yeah, I read for Piccolo. I was like, but you know, that's every audition. When I hold auditions, I not only probably usually not reading for that part I'm casting for,
Right.
but I'm casting parts that don't even happen yet. Just because
But
of
that's
time.
cool though, it's just lines to read and you can figure out, oh, I
Yeah.
could use them as a Lady B or this character here.
I just did that recently. I had a massive call for one character, but cast 5.
Wow.
I got a question. How were y'all?
Exactly.
I've always done voices, so probably 5. I mean,
Wow.
I've always done it. And then I did speech and theater in high school and did forensic speech, which is competition, and voice work, and I did that all through high school and college, and then kept going and did morning radio for a while. So, I
What
was with
station?
I was with a comedy team who were amazing.
Oh, how fun.
Old radio guys. And so we'd always make it sound like there was a room full of people. But I've always done that, but I think a lot of it was because I was an only child and I had to entertain myself somehow. So I did voices to keep the room full.
I was 23 when I started acting professionally, and I found out on my 30th birthday, I pushed my what do they call the answering machine, and heard Christopher Sabat going, "You have been cast as the role of Chi-Chi." And so I didn't know what anime was. I had no idea, but
Paramedic school.
you did?
Yes.
I went running around my apartment going, "Yee!" Even though I didn't know what it was. It was just like I didn't think I had a chance. And so I was so excited. So at 30 and I didn't know voice acting was a genre. I was doing commercial work, corporate videos.
I should also caveat that I've been acting forever since I was a kid, but I
We didn't know. Dubbing wasn't a thing we knew
voice
about.
acting wasn't even a thing that popped in my head. That's something I should try to do. This guy.
Is it true that you're Patty from One Piece?
Yes.
Yeah, the fighting.
The fighting
It's a
what?
deep cut. Patty, it's this character I spent a day on. What
does it do?
It's just a guy. What does he do? He cooks burgers, right?
Well, first they get on a drink of food and eat.
Yeah. To paint you a picture, I recorded him in the old building in North
God.
Virginia.
I didn't know One Piece was happening yet.
One Piece is always happening.
I didn't start One Piece till we were in the new building.
Between One Piece and Black Clover, it's gonna kill us all.
Oh my
So
God.
exhausting, those shows.
Oh.
Glad you like them.
Thank you.
Lord, wrap it up.
No. Some of us are clinging on to those old shows.
I always like Shin-Chan.
Oh, that was my favorite.
That's what we need to do more of. I didn't even touch that show.
Do you know, I almost cried. I was Mitzi and Shin-Chan. It was my most fun. I loved it. And I heard Zach say, "Yeah, we're not renewing it next year." And I just went, "What?" And I go, "Why?" And he goes, "Oh, we're just tired of having to explain to the Japanese our sense of humor versus theirs, and it's just a whole thing. I mean, we could keep doing it, but..."
Jokes.
And I was so devastated. To him, it was a problem. To me, it was my main work and my favorite.
I was on Shin-Chan. I played the next door neighbor. I loved doing it.
Wasn't it the best?
I was ukulele.
I remember her.
Do you remember when Shin-Chan burned down the house originally?
I do too.
Yeah, I was the I was a realtor.
I remember
They
you.
kept changing. She kept. It's like the same person, but they kept changing what she did.
Yeah.
It's very strange. But I loved it because it was so demented, and you had to
It was so
really
demented.
high to watch it. And like that.
And just, they got tired of having to justify our sense of
I
humor.
thought it was great.
I thought it was brilliant.
Strange.
Hi.
Jeremy. Something you wrote yesterday had said about how with him playing Android 17, he was basically just told tone it down and do absolutely nothing. Were you playing 16? Were you basically given the same instructions other than your next month?
Yes, I was just telling this story, I think today, or yes, I don't know if the days have lived together. But I can tell for sure. But from 2000, when we did the original Dragon Ball Z, Chris Sabat would direct me, and I would try to do it more emotionally. He's like, "No, you're a robot, bro." I'm like, "Okay, so crap," but whatever. And then we finally got to do it again. So I feel I did a much
In
better
Kai?
job. Yeah, Dragon Ball Z.
I loved Kai because we got to have do-overs.
Yes, and you can tell if you listen to the original the original dub, and then the DragonAll Z Kai.
We're
to me,
much better.
It is a much stronger performance across the board. Everybody sucks in the original.
We all know. We had no idea what we were
None
doing.
of us, even all of them. That's why Sabbath's 4 people. It's like we didn't have anybody. Nobody knew what they were doing. And it just kind of we all grew up with it. But now we're totally professional.
Oh, yes.
Right.
I forget.
But my favorite performance of Android 16 is in Dragon Ball Z Fighters, the video game, because Sabat wasn't even in the room, and Stephen Hoff, the guy directing it, said, "You're doing this, just do it." I'm like, yes.
Yes.
I kept him true to just, "Hey, I'm just hanging out, whatever, birds, you're cool."
You brought in Gaston.
Yeah, I gave him a little flavor, a little more intention, a little more drive to survive at least, or something. I don't know.
And that brings up something interesting to me. So many directors have directed Dragon Ball Z. And for a while, first it was Sabat, and then I went to John Bergmeyer, and he wanted Chi-Chi to be more warm and maternal. And when I work for a director, to me, I have to fulfill what they want, and I don't judge that. But then when it went back to Sabbath, he's like, no, dude, she's like white trash. She's rough. It's like, okay, I like it.
I'm two other bit parts in 16's inaugural episode. Well, I'm a truck driver. And some guy that screams like that. I don't know. Whatever.
I love that about Dragon Ball Z. The bit parts are hysterical.
Oh, they're just off the chain. Oh, this guy.
Excuse me. When you guys lose your voice as voice actors, how long does it take for your voices to return normally? Do you guys like ice your voices? Do you like drink plenty of water?
There's an incredible product, and it's made by Yogi. It's called the Throat Comfort, and I've used that for years. I've given it to singers and things, and you can get it at Whole Foods. You can get it at Walmart, but it usually takes three to
Is it a
7
tea?
days. It's a tea,
Okay.
and it's amazing if your throat hurts or you're trying to get that out of your voice. Besides pineapple juice, that's the best thing to use. Pineapple juice will clear all the
I didn't know that.
schmuck, all that crap out of your throat like that. So if you've got
Good to
phlegm,
know.
yeah, an old voice coach told me that. But Throat Comfort
I've heard all of them.
Yogi is really amazing.
All of them.
All of them.
I like Red Bull and cigarettes.
Yeah. Grabbing
No, but for Chi-Chi, because she's so abrasive.
Pabst in a pack of
What we would do is do all the speaking lines first, because she's only a few parts in a few episodes in a row, so I might knock out 5 episodes, and we would do all the talking and then go back and do the rah, rah, rah. And then I'd have no voice for a day or two, and I didn't think about Throat Comfort or Yogi or anything like that.
Well, they kept a lot of that on file, too. I mean, you could scream 5 different ways, and then they could kind of put it in where they needed to put it in. So, it's the same.
Never lost my voice acting.
I hate you.
Crazy. I don't know. Because when I started, I smoked pack a day and, drank my share of whiskey. And it's never lost. The one time I ever lost my voice performing anything was when I worked at Medieval.
Yes! I love his medieval times.
I don't know what I did, but I fried my voice on a matinee performance, and I was supposed to be the king that night. And that's where somebody told me extra virgin olive oil, so I was shooting extra virgin olive oil anytime in between chicken or, the yellow night.
My whole favorite part of the story is when you said that, because I can imagine what your king would be.
Don DeLuise in Medieval.
Okay, well they were like, we decided to go a different direction because I didn't like your boisterous.
They had 3 kings. I was one of 3 kings back in my tenure of Medieval times. And one was he was like my age, but like, I'm the warrior king. I'm the yellow knight, that's what I'm going to do. And then we had an ancient guy who was like, I'm the old father of the king. But the only slot to fill here is Don DeLuise from History of the World Part 1 king. So that's how I'm going to play it. Yeah, so I had a great time.
I want to hear an example.
It was just basically Gaston with an English accent, old ladies, perhaps together with a yellow knight, kind of half game show host, half parliamentarian.
I picture you the turkey leg, calling for the wenches.
We got to eat the king and princess got to eat everything.
And then
we had to eat because they wanted the audience to see the king and queen eating.
So they would eat the chicken, they would buy the
full
turkey
meal
legs.
with the audience, and it was just like, this is...
sick and tired of you.
Yeah, this is chicken number 4 tonight. Here's a dry potato. But lost my voice doing that, of all things. I think it was because all the dirt in the air.
Sawdust.
Yeah.
And the knights got all the ladies.
Oh, you're not lying. It was
You're the one that told me that.
Yeah, it was Paradise Island. So it was crazy.
Stable.
Yeah, I was part of that.
You were the king.
Yeah, I was the king. I was kind of adjacent to the knights. Question in the back.
Redhead.
You're looking at expanding the living and
Are you kidding? That's all of us.
Anything that anyone would have me in video game life.
I'll tell you right now, I want to get into directing video games. That's as far as my own personal career journey. That's something I haven't done that I would like to do. But
part of the fun of video games is that it's prelay, so you're not flat matching, which is da 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 da. And if you want to take a dramatic pause, you can, or hit a certain word. There's just more freedom, I feel.
That's the.
And more money.
Yes, the money's better.
That's what gets me about our industry and comparative to other people in the industry. Like, it's like there's a lot of pros and cons. Like pros are cons. Like we talk a lot about. I'm sure all of us talk to a lot of other people in the entertainment world that don't have access to coming to cons and like doing what we do, and they love that. But perfect example is my best friend Carla. She lives in LA. Lives in studios. She was on the Mick. She's if you watch the show The Mick on Fox, she's the Spanish housekeeper that was on there.
I'm gonna have to watch it now.
But like, so she's a working actor in Los Angeles and doesn't do any cons. She's like, what is that? It's like, I'm trying to walk her through what these are. She's like, why would I do that? I'm like, well, yeah, I did voice acting. But then the trade-off is that a lot of the same industry doesn't see us as legitimate actors.
Yes.
Even though what we do is harder than walking on and saying your lines that you've had for 5 months in total production.
We are beyond D. We're E, F, G, H actors, but we get people that know our work, and that was my personal goal as an actress. I'm like, I'm not gonna go to LA and beat out Gwyneth Paltrow and Julia Roberts, and I'm really not gonna do Broadway in New York, so I was pleased to be able to work professionally in Dallas, and my personal goal was to get paid to do what I love and have my work have meaning to someone, and I did not know that anime existed. So that genre that I had no anxiety, I mean, because our fans are phenomenal. The fact that you guys show up to meet us and say thank you from my childhood or can I get your signature is mind-blowing. Because we are so poo-pooed by the A-list actors.
Well, that and to all you subs over dubs people, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to paint you a picture that the people we're hiring are the same quality of actor that get hired for prelay in Japan or prelay in LA or New York or whatever. They're all the same quality of actor. The prelay actors get to go in and rehearse and know the material. The dub actor, all talent being the same, does not.
It's an improv cold read every time.
So the actor that gets to go into anime dub voice acting, emphasis on the acting, is an actor good enough to draw in to the intention of the line and deliver it believably in 1 to 5 takes.
And another voice's cadence.
Exactly, and that's the kicker in the flap prison of anime. You don't get just to go in and go, hey, I'm the best actor ever, pew, pew, pew. Next. It's like, no, which I would love to do.
And you make it harder.
Yeah, you have to get it in time. You have to time it,
But the writers have to take the content and turn it into a more believable way of our speaking, but still match the flaps. So they might switch word order that we would normally do. It might sound awkward.
Acting.
Yeah, and so my mind will skip or add a word, not intentionally. It's just, it would be less awkward in another way. So thank you for that. I do think we have to have more skill sets in that one area, but unless you do dubbing, you would not know how hard it is. So here's our pity party.
That's not, I mean, it's like...
No, I'm proud of what we do.
I didn't know how this business worked at all until I got into it, much like everybody else.
Didn't know it existed.
But I came into it as a trained actor, so I knew what acting was. So I know what it was like to apply acting skills into this very constrained infrastructure of product that you have to put your acting into. It's not like...
Don't have the freedom. Yeah, you don't have the freedom.
Yes. So getting a believable performance into this, like this round peg in a square bowl, but it...
And go.
Yeah. Sorry, you had your hand sneaking up.
Yeah, you say about the improvisational cold reads. When I say my theater class, they were saying you always want to react, not act. Is that something you guys like to follow too when you're trying to go in for your cold reads?
Kind of, for me, like I use improv skills a lot. I use physical adjustments. When I watch the Japanese, I'm looking at how the character's standing, because that will affect how you read something. Or, I don't know what it's like to be a princess warrior in an elf colony, so I'll draw from the game 10 things to come up with what's elf like, what's, princess like.
I'll tell you the best tips. Like I come to Buddy Hackett School of Acting tips. It's like turn around, pulling those hair out, they're crying. But look at the eyebrows of the character. Whatever the eyebrows are doing, that's where you're gonna aim your read for. It's like I'm angry, I'm happy.
And that's funny, because when Bevins would direct me, Christopher Bevins directed for many years, and if I was close, we'd hear dancing around, and he's like, Cranz, look at me. And we have a little window, we can look out the director, and he'd be like, say it and make this face. And I was like, okay. And I would make the face, and it would get the read. I mean, it's so weird. Every director has their way of getting it. But that was so interesting to me, and that kind of corresponds to the eyebrows.
My way is, I'll be back when it's done.
I know.
Let me know when you finally get it after.
Or it's magic.
Yes, magic.
Magic.
Off the screen.
Magic.
Do we have questions?
Stop acting like you're not happy to be here.
I'm not, but I hate the stare down game. So
you first, and then okay.
Speaking of video games, I'm not sure if y'all are answering this question correctly. That is a chance to ask it. But some video games, right? You get wasted and stuff like that, but you can't say you're in it until the game either comes out or there's a trailer. I guess it's some kind of game. Why? You know what I mean? Like, why can't you say you're in it?
Lots.
Yeah, I've never thought about the why. I just know it is.
There's a lot of money riding on these properties and a lot of intellectual property going into them.
Secrecy.
They don't want
spoiler alerts or
spoilers to characters to. Yeah.
Don't show this script to anybody. No, don't do anything. No.
And they will give fake names. Like even the Dragon Ball Z games will have weird project names.
Let me give you an example of the most ridiculous example of what you're talking about. I'm going to ask, and you're going to break my heart by saying no, but anybody watch It Invaded? Look at this. Y'all slept on the best show ever made. It Invaded it's called Id Invaded. Id, not as an ID, but id as in your brain or your personality type. And it's actually a detective murder mystery show, but it's about Josh Curlee, who was here. He's the lead, but they insert serial killer into other serial killers' ids to figure out. It's kind of like Minority Report mixed in with these other sci-fi movies. But that's the show. But they were so, it's really cool, you guys. I don't know what you're watching, but if it's not hidden, get your life together. But they were so strict on not talking about it because the licensors were so concerned about who the killer is getting out that we could not announce it. We couldn't announce the cast. We couldn't even say who was in what character at all. We were not allowed to talk about it online at all until like episode 5 or 6. And by then, people had already figured out by episode 3 who the guy was. So it was like we just limped in with our cast announcements. And I'll tell you what, none of you probably did. All of you probably haven't watched it because all of you probably haven't heard about it because Funimation didn't do crap with it because they were so locked up with the licensing agreement. Nobody could talk about it. So they killed the popularity of their own really good show by being total tight. It's not 18 and up, but you get it. They're locking us up with such a ridiculous request of an NDA really hurt the show's popularity or just people knowing about it. But you should watch it. It Invaded. It's great.
Yeah, I just remember there was a game that came out recently, Scarlet Wars, and I was like, who's the main character? And I had a guess, right? Like, I couldn't look up the cast at all. Like, I was like, okay, English cast. I just saw the Japanese cast. And then the game came out, and Eric Mendez tweeted, like, hey, I'm this on here. It's like, oh, okay. I had no idea until the game was already out.
Especially in the video game world, there's a lot of money and a lot of competition going on.
And there's a lot of fake names of the project. They'll call it Project, Susanna Offit.
Yes.
Like, so I don't even know the real title, what it will be. Yeah.
I just recorded.
Funimation even did that or Okratron on the games for Dragon Ball Z.
Really?
They had weird names. They didn't know, like, I don't know, the sneakiness.
Actors are dumb. You can't trust actors.
And someone else had yes.
I just had a question. You mentioned the song a couple times. One King sing song. And,
let me tell you something. That was my audition song when I was in musical theater. I would do the 16 bars of this. And I'm roughly the size of a bird. And do that one. So yeah. It's just something I discovered I could do. So I've always been loud. And I've always been loud and annoying. I might as well marry that together. So.
Know your strengths. Know your audience.
That's not lying. If I hear one more actor crying about, but I really want to expand my range, it's like, as a director, I'm like, I want to hear your best work, not the work you're playing around with.
Right.
So it's like, know your strengths. I'll never be a hero. I'll never take a part from Eric Vale, and Eric Vale probably won't ever take a part from me.
I will never have a high squeaky voice.
Yeah.
I'm generally the bipolar, weird, crazy, can do 5 different emotions in one paragraph. And I love that. I do. It's fun.
That's, I mean, it gets
character actor. I'll just call it a character
Everybody
actor.
wants to meet the hero.
No, even as a kid in like elementary school plays, I wanted to be the old lady. Like I'm attracted to character acting.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was really uncomfortable playing the ingenue in a theater. I'm like, oh, this is so stilted and boring. It's not me.
It's interesting too, because like there's such a value placed on having a wide range, and you know, being able to put yourself in different jobs and positions and act on different emotions. But let's say, like, you know, you take 20 years to learn 4 different jobs, or you take 20 years at one job. That one job you're going to be very good at, and you're going to do it very well. So,
it does make it easier. I mean, I can play a villain. I could play a seductress. I'm never going to be the girl that can hit the anime hero, you know. It's on me. I have to get a demo made to show that I can do more than crazy ladies, but because I could do a villain, and I've done a couple of sexy roles, but for the most part, I'm never going to try to be the lead in My Hero Academia, and I'm cool with that. It's just, like he said, find your strengths and really play those up.
Your strengths are going to pay your rent.
Yeah, you've got to let your ego go.
Yeah, do you want to pay rent?
I mean,
I'll
tell you what, anytime I get can you come in for Villager A, I'm like, I will be there, and I will get paid the same for the amount of time as if I were the lead in that. And then they feel sorry, they're like, I'm sorry, there's not more. I'm like, dude, I was here for 5 minutes.
Because with the what is it called, simulcast, whatever we're doing, one episode a week, like being a lead used to mean more money. But with one episode a week, it's not. It's like I can have a bit part supporting character for one episode. With the
and they may never have a name, but you come back a few times for 5 minutes for 2 lines.
Yeah.
That's a good gig.
You're going to make as much money as
you start looking. I mean, yes, it's an art and it's a calling and we love it, but at the end of the day, it's a business.
It has to be practical.
Yeah.
You have to be there.
I can't have an ego in acting, no matter what genre, commercials, whatever I used to do. Gotta let the ego go and like, what is my market?
That's what I wish all these workshops much spouting up and start teaching is pragmatism over follow your dreams and your heart will follow, whatever, yank.
No.
Let's talk real life, you know. It's like, that's great, you should do that.
When I decided to do acting as a profession, the first thing I did was find a book. It was written by Christian Slater's mom, who was a casting director. And it was called The Business of Acting. I'm like, all right, I want to know about this. And one of the best workshops I went to said, find a day job that you love that will allow you to leave an audition and do your role. So I picked real estate, which I would do apartment locating if I didn't act, but I never went into it thinking, oh, I'm going to be a star, you know. And I'm not, but I do have people that love my work, and I love you guys that love my work, and it's just been a nice fit.
it's based hourly.
Hourly.
Funimation speaking, your pay is an hourly rate. So we use a formula depending on how many lines and reactions you have for a certain episode to determine how much time you're going to be used for that episode. So that, to that point, is the main lead in a show could have the same exact amount of time needed booked as a supporting character that's one episode. And on our weekly, like, being a lead before meant we would come in and record 5 episodes worth of time with you. You'd be there for a week, all day, you know.
Yeah, that was Shin for me. That's why I was sad when I went.
But on the simulcast schedule, it's just an episode a week, so everyone's hours just kind of evened out. It's a great equalizer. I know people doing wallet bit parts, like group acting, that are making way more money than any lead character. I can tell you, especially with COVID and remote recording, we've had to use groups of people that basically live together for all of our wallet bits, and every show I've gotten of the 6 since lockdown happened are wallet nightmares, like armies, we're fighting, here's a bunch of cyborgs, whatever.
I love Wallet too, because
so
you get to play and
those
do
people,
things.
I'm booking 2 to 4 hours, 6 hours a week, and the lead
Well, how
I'm
do I
booking
get?
2
So I basically would have to live with someone to be able to be that.
there was it just happened, you know.
No. I'm not complaining. I thought we quit doing Wallet because they voice banked it and had restaurant Wallet, little children Wallet.
I feel like Austin Tyndall, who's here, I'm the one who told him, start a Wallet group, because he knows the STEM acts, and they would all hang out at his house anyway during COVID. I'm like, are you telling me you have a group of men at your house that are all voice actors? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, crap. So they started this Wallet group, and I use them 1 to 3 times a week.
That's so cool.
A week for Wallet and bit parts, and they're making more money. In the front end, like, of course, the leads, if the show hits, they can come to cons, and if you're a lead, like Rico was just up here, he's making a mint, signing autographs or whatever. That's great, but that's all back-end stuff, and you never know if that's going to happen or not. Like,
I have a question.
Who knows what show's gonna get
Do
big.
you think, and you may not know, or you may say, with pandemic, people pretending it's over, and us moving into the new studio, do you think it's going to become more live-oriented? There'll be more live Walla in the booth?
Oh, yeah, that's
Or do you think it's going to stay with people recording? Because I go into the booth to record because I'm so low-tech that if the engineers are telling me everything to push, I'd rather drive an hour, work for 15 minutes, and drive home than try to record remotely from my house. So it is coming back, was the answer.
yeah, remote Wallet sucks. That's coming back. They're not bringing anybody back until they can. I mean, I don't know when they're going to bring back the new studio. But to answer your question, yes,
It
Wallet
will be. They're tired of people remotely recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a quality loss.
The funniest thing is Wendy Powell did like 4 episodes of a show, and I don't know which one, and she couldn't see really the flaps or the character. She assumed she was the big, fat, frumpy one, because we are often, as elder women, the frumpy, fat old ladies. And so, but I want to say, the character she thought she was reading for had a mask on all the time, and so it didn't matter the lines, but she put a real heavy, deep voice on it. And about episode 4, Kyle was like, it went silent. When it goes silent, you're recording, you know they're talking about, and you're like, this is not, nothing good is being said right now. So, it's funny, no, it's funny, it's awkward. You've had it done to you.
Yeah.
So Kyle comes back and he says, Wendy, what role do you think you're recording? And she goes, that big one over there. He goes, you mean the lead? Because we don't know who's the lead. And she's like, I didn't know it was lead. Look, no, that's Chubbs. Well, Chubbs is bigger than Jeremy. Chubbs is this giant, burly guy. Wendy's part was a really tiny, teeny little old lady. She goes, oh no, am I going to have to redo all these lines? They're like, no, we thought it was hysterical that you gave this little tiny, teeny old lady the voice of like, rah, that was hysterical. And that's what's another lesson about acting. Commit. Like, they thought she was making a brilliant choice. Like, I'm not going to do the obvious thing. They didn't know that she didn't make that choice, but she committed to it, so they kept it. And by the way, she's not in Dragon Ball Z, really. She did Baba and then got fired and did some bit voices. But they had her do her own panel yesterday.
Solo,
By herself. And the whole thing was like, well, I'm not in Dragon Ball Z.
Well.
I got fired, so glasses at the end of the nose. What do you want to know about anything that's not, I mean, that is so awkward. That'd be like me being in a villains panel or something.
You guys got time for one more question?
One more question we were told.
yeah.
If there is.
What's your favorite?
There are two, we'll make it. What?
Lightning round.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Favorite what? Ice cream flavor? Chocolate fudge from Baskin Robbins.
So plain, but it's delicious. Nice. Or red velvet. Because that's a thing now.
Y'all aren't using your mics, they can't hear you.
Butterpecan.
It's ice cream. I'll eat it.
And then somebody else had their number.
Mine wasn't really sure. I was curious if I got into That's not true.
I applied and auditioned. I don't know how I got. That's half the jobs I've got in my life. I can't tell you how I got it.
Sometimes they just, well, I'm typecast as the crazy lady that can do crying, laughing, anger, rage, and hysteria in one paragraph. So I just show up when I'm called in.
Yeah, I literally just applied, and they called me for an interview and said, "What did you want to do?" I was like, "Well, I don't want to wait tables, that's for sure. Like and I don't want to ride a horse. Like I'm not going to be a knight, and I'm not going to hump this crap around the dirt. So what do you got in production?" It's like, "Well, can you do a British accent?" I'm like, "Well, I can fake my way through it." Okay, so I gave them a little bit of just what we've been doing. They're like, "Hey, and I started the next week.
How long did you
I
work
got
there?
fired, right?
Because they didn't agree with your...
Yeah, they didn't like my Don DeLuise cakes. This is my favorite got fired story ever. Because not only did he was such a douche about it, but he did it so I didn't have to leave. The first time he tried to fire me, they just docked my pay without telling me. And then we had a meeting, and it was like, "What happened to my pay?" "Oh, you're making less." I'm like, you can't dock my pay without telling me. So I went to the manager, and it's medieval times drama, I guess. Like, no. So then he tried to fire. The next week, he told me, "You're just not going where medieval times is going." I'm like, yeah. I started laughing in his face, and it's like, "Where is medieval times going?" What? I was like, oh God.
I bet your king was the best king ever because it's probably the only funny one.
I would agree. He fired me because when you're not the king, you have to work spotlight, and I would talk a lot of trash to him or whatever. So we
Well, thank you guys for
thanks
showing
all.
up.